Beamy Miles, 31, ops engineer at a logistics SaaS in my city. Rent a small one-bedroom with thin walls and loud neighbors. Work is where software meets warehouses, scanners, penalties, and angry clients. Most days are dashboards, incident bridges, and pretending outages are just degradations. Keep my head down because politics spreads faster than any production issue. Smoke a few cigarettes, not proud, just a habit from night shifts. Usually step outside twice, 5 minutes, come back, chew mint, keep moving. Monday starts normal until company chat pings with a people update announcement. New hire joins leadership. Title reads Director of Culture and Workplace Experience. Name is Alyssa, mid-30s, bright smile, sharp eyes, sharper sentences. Message says she is here to make comfort measurable across identities. She adds 3 emojis and a line about harm you cannot see. Invite hits my calendar instantly. All hands, mandatory, questions pre-screened. Conference room fills, remote grid shows faces, everyone practicing neutral expressions. Gordon, the CEO, appears first, looking tired in a new way. He mentions a board concern about employee complaints and brand risk. He says insurance renewal is coming, and premiums love the word prevention. Gordon says a major client asked about wellness and workplace safety metrics. Then he hands the mic to Alyssa like a man passing a hot pan. Alyssa appears like a keynote speaker, perfect lighting, water bottle staged for optics. She thanks women first, then thanks everyone who supports women's focus at work. She calls that focus protected concentration and says men rarely notice interruptions. Slide 1 reads Clean Air Comfort Initiative. Pilot starts today. Alyssa says elevators have smelled like a bar, and women feel trapped inside. She pauses on women feel trapped, letting that phrase do heavy lifting. Someone coughs, not from smoke, just from knowing what comes next. Alyssa says it is not about punishment, it is about restoring dignity. She frames odor as workplace safety, not preference, not taste, not debate. Next slide shows a glossy odor scale that looks invented by a consultant. She claims it comes from anonymous women's feedback over the last quarter. Engineering managers glance around because none of them saw that survey. Alyssa says nicotine residue clings to clothes, hair, skin, and keyboard surfaces. She says some employees cannot consent to sharing enclosed air with residue. She calls elevator rides forced intimacy and says we must reduce that. Her voice stays calm, like she is reading weather, not writing rules. She announces no smoking during work hours for high odor products. She defines high odor as full flavor cigarettes, most cigars, and heavy blends. She adds that low odor slim lights are generally acceptable outdoors. Everyone knows exactly who smokes slims in marketing by the loading dock. Alyssa says research shows slims dissipate faster and leave less signature. She does not cite the research because the room already accepted the premise. Gordon nods like he just learned a metric he cannot argue. Alyssa says enforcement will be handled through supportive accountability, not shaming. She introduces an elevator comfort hotline, QR codes inside every cab. She says reporting is anonymous, and retaliation will be treated as violence. My stomach drops because anonymity plus policy equals math I cannot win. Slide 2 reads wellness compliance for high-impact roles. Alyssa says burnout shows up in men as irritability, withdrawal, and odor denial. She says the company will offer structured group training during work hours. She says participation is mandatory for roles statistically linked to workplace strain. Then she lists those roles, and it is basically every male-heavy team. She calls it support, but the language sounds like a diagnosis. She says cohorts are 8 to 10 people, twice weekly, 30 minutes. She says the gym has badge scanning for safety and attendance integrity. She says refusal signals misalignment with company health values. She says repeated non-attendance can be interpreted as encouraging unhealthy norms. She never says propaganda, but the implication lands the same way. She adds, women are exempt because women already manage health labor outside work. She says women do fitness privately, and forcing attendance would be coercive. She says men benefit from structure because men historically avoid accountability practices. She says it gently, like she is saving us from ourselves. All hands ends with applause from people who do not get audited. Company chat fills with supportive messages from accounts that always post supportive messages. Jason pings me a single dot, which is our code for trouble. He asks if I saw the Slims carve out and the male cohort list. I type back that I saw it, and I wish I could unsee it. Tuesday morning, I walk in and smell coffee, deodorant, and something like power. Elevator doors open, and a laminated sign faces me at eye level. Sign says please respect clean air comfort. Report concerns via QR link. Under the QR code is a note about odor-carrying trauma memory. I step in alone and still feel accused by the sticker. Third floor opens, and I pass the kitchen, where marketing is laughing loudly. 2 women by the side door are smoking Slims like it is a photo shoot. They wave at me like we are all friends, smoke drifting behind them. One says Alyssa said these are fine because they're light. She says it with the confidence of someone protected by definition. Renee from engineering walks by, wrinkles her nose, and mutters, "So equal." Renee hates smoke too, but she hates hypocrisy more, and it shows. My floor has a new poster near the printers. Clean air is care. Next to it is another poster. Wellness is non-negotiable for leaders. At my desk sits a calendar invite titled Cohort Training, Group C, Mandatory. Invite includes a PDF attachment called Wellness Passport, version 1.0. PDF explains check-ins, badge scanning, and coaching escalation for non-compliance. PDF also says participants should avoid tobacco entirely on training days. Training days are Tuesday and Thursday, which is apparently always. Jason walks over, looks at my screen, and says we are Group C. He says his wife is pregnant and stress is already running him down. I tell him we will treat it like dental work. Show up, leave fast. Noon hits, and I step outside, because habit is habit, and lungs are lungs. Smoking area used to be near the loading dock, hidden by a hedge. Now there is a fresh sign, high odor zone relocated for comfort. Arrow points to the far edge of the parking lot, behind dumpsters. Walking there feels like being sent to the edge of town. 2 guys from support are already there, hands in pockets, looking angry. One says he got a chat warning for smelling like smoke near the elevator. He says he had not even smoked. He just sat near a smoker. We laugh because it sounds insane, but the laugh is thin. A security cart drives by slowly, like we are suspicious by location. I light one, take 2 drags, and feel anxiety beat nicotine. Back inside, the elevator smells like perfume and air freshener, not smoke. Still, the sign is there, implying smoke is present, even when absent. Later, Alyssa posts a reminder in Zot Culture updates about the hotline. She says report odor impacts early so patterns can be addressed compassionately. She ends with a line about women should not carry men's choices. Owen, my manager, pings me asking if I saw the wellness invite. He says attendance is tracked and he cannot help anyone miss it. He adds a nervous smiley, like emojis can soften enforcement. Tuesday at 3, Group C meets at the gym door by facilities. Gym is small, mostly treadmills, a rack of dumbbells, and a mirror wall. Badge scanner sits on a tripod with a tablet showing names. Alyssa stands there with a trainer, a cheerful guy named Brent. Brent wears a headset mic, like this is a spin class. Alyssa thanks us for investing in ourselves and our colleagues' comfort. She says women asked for men to take health seriously, and we are responding. She insists it is partnership, not punishment, and the distinction matters. Jason whispers that everything is punishment now, just with nicer fonts. Brent makes us stretch, jog in place, then do bodyweight squats. My knees pop because desks do that to people, not ideology. Brent says today is baseline, nothing to be afraid of. Alyssa circles with a clipboard, checking boxes like she is inspecting produce. She stops near me and asks if I am a smoker. I say yes, occasionally, and her face changes without changing. Alyssa says smoking reduces lung capacity and increases irritability in male teams. She says irritability contributes to unsafe tone, which harms women's productivity. She says it like my cigarette is already an apology. Brent calls planks, and I watch sweat drip onto rubber mats. Halfway through, Colin starts shaking and stands up too fast. Colin says he skipped lunch and feels lightheaded, and Brent tells him breathe. Alyssa says, please do not quit, quitting signals avoidance patterns. Colin sits down anyway, head between knees, face white. Someone offers water, and Alyssa says hydration is encouraged, but breaks must be logged. Jason's jaw clenches because logging a water break is a new low. Session ends. Badge scanner beeps as we exit, like a prison gate. Alyssa posts a group photo in Just Culture updates, faces blurred, captioned men doing the work. She thanks the women who inspired this courage and tags Gordon. Wednesday morning brings an email from Alyssa. Subject clean air follow-up. Email says she received multiple reports about residue in elevator 2. Email says patterns suggest a few men are struggling to respect community air. Email says supportive coaching will begin for repeat flagged individuals. Email includes a link to a form called Odor Impact Report. Form asks location, time, perceived intensity, and how it affected your sense of safety. Form asks if the odor reminded you of past environments you escaped. Reading that question makes my skin crawl because it invites storytelling as evidence. By lunch, rumor spreads that Colin got flagged because someone saw him near dumpsters. Colin swears he was just throwing trash, not smoking, but that does not matter. Owen schedules a quick one-on-one with Colin, and Colin looks doomed. Thursday session arrives, and I consider skipping it like a normal adult. Then I remember the PDF, the language about values, and I show up. Brent adds jump rope and burpees because suffering always sells as growth. Jason mutters that he never consented to exercise as a moral test. Alyssa says consent is tricky because men withhold consent to avoid accountability. She smiles while saying it, and it lands like a slap. After session, Alyssa hands out wellness passport cards with QR codes. She says scan after each session and also log smoke-free days. She says streaks earn comfort points that will be recognized publicly. Recognized publicly is the opposite of comfort, but she does not notice. Friday morning, facilities adds a small device inside the main elevator. It has a blinking light and a label that reads Air Quality Monitor. Facilities guy says it logs VOC levels and timestamps, nothing more. He says it cannot identify people, but HR can correlate it with badge logs. He shrugs like a man watching someone else build a weapon. My phone buzzes with Alyssa's post about the monitor. She says data reduces bias and ensures women's comfort is not dismissed. She says men minimize sensory harm, so measurement prevents gaslighting. Jason replies with a thumbs up and nothing else, saving screenshots. Saturday, I try to forget work, but my body feels trained like a dog. Monday returns, and the first email in my inbox is from Alyssa. Subject reads supportive coaching reminder, and my name is listed. Email says I have been flagged twice for elevator residue impacts. Email says coaching is mandatory, and refusal may indicate cultural misalignment. Email includes a meeting invite titled Restorative Air Conversation, 30 minutes. Email CCs Owen, which is a quiet kind of violence. I check timestamps, and both flags happened when I was remote. One flag happened at 9:12 when my badge never entered the building. My pulse spikes because this system is now accusing ghosts. I reply politely asking for clarification, and I request the underlying data. I ask which elevator, which time window, and what threshold triggered. Alyssa replies fast, using cheerful language that hides teeth. She says details are private to protect reporters from retaliation. She says focus on impact, not on proving innocence. She says denial is a common male defense, and she hopes I grow. My hands shake, not with rage, but with the sense of losing reality. Jason tells me to start a folder and save every email. He says if they want impact, we will give them impact in writing. Tuesday coaching happens in a small room with a sage diffuser. Alyssa sits across from me, posture like a therapist, eyes like HR. She asks what smoking gives me emotionally, and I say it is a habit. Alyssa says habits are values made physical, and I stare at her. She asks whether I notice women flinching in elevators around men. I say I have never noticed, and she says that is the problem. Alyssa says women endured male spaces, and now we will unlearn that. She says my residue is part of male space, even if I am quiet. She asks me to commit to smoke-free hours between 9 and 5. I ask if the policy applies to everyone, and she smiles carefully. Alyssa says women are not statistically the source of this odor signature. She says women's choices are policed already, so this is balance. She says equality is not identical treatment. It is equitable comfort outcomes. I nod, because arguing in that room feels like self-harm. Alyssa asks me to sign a coaching acknowledgement on her tablet. Document says I agree to take steps to reduce odor impact immediately. Document says repeated flags may affect performance review due to culture metrics. I sign because refusing becomes a story she can file against me. Walking out, I feel lighter and dirtier at the same time. Wednesday brings a new thing, because Escalation is the real product here. Alyssa announces elevator courtesy windows for peak times. She says women may request priority rides to reduce forced proximity. She says men should wait during courtesy windows to respect comfort boundaries. She calls it courtesy, but it is segregation in a cardigan. Lines form, men stand outside cabs, watching empty rides go up. Renee watches the line and says quietly, "This is going to end badly." One guy jokes about taking stairs, and Alyssa posts a reminder about tone. She says humor about women's comfort is a form of resistance. Thursday training includes a sharing circle after the workout. Brent asks us to share one belief we will release this week. Alyssa watches like a judge at confession. Colin says he will release defensiveness because he wants to keep his job. Jason says he will release resentment, and his eyes say the opposite. When my turn comes, I say I will release the need to be right. Alyssa nods approvingly, and I hate that I played along. Friday, Colin collapses in the hallway after gym, hands shaking, face gray. Someone calls 911, and paramedics arrive, pushing through open plan desks. Alyssa kneels beside Colin, voice soft, eyes scanning witnesses. Paramedic asks what happened, and Colin says he skipped lunch again. Brent insists the program is safe, and Alyssa calls it supportive. Owen looks like he has seen a lawsuit form in real time. Colin goes to the hospital, and the office goes quiet like snow. Monday after that, an email arrives from risk management, not Alyssa. Subject reads incident review, and it requests program documentation. Email asks who mandated sessions, what accommodations exist, and how attendance is tracked. Alyssa replies all with a long message about holistic care and identity safety. She frames Colin's collapse as a personal lesson, not a program failure. She says men ignore nutrition and then blame women's initiatives for consequences. Reading that line makes my jaw tighten so hard it hurts. Jason pings me, saying risk never emails unless legal is already involved. Tuesday, the air monitor light blinks red after marketing comes in laughing. Elevator smells like sweet perfume and clove smoke, not dumpsters. Light blinks again, and I see two women step out quickly. One holds a slim behind her back like a teenager. My brain locks onto that detail and refuses to let go. I take the next ride and watch the monitor graph on the tiny screen. Graph spikes when those women entered, then drops slowly after they exit. My badge log shows I entered 10 minutes later when the spike was fading. That means flags can be assigned wrong by timing, not truth. I tell Jason, and he says, gather proof without looking like proof. Wednesday, I walk past the loading dock and see Alyssa outside. She is smoking a slim with two marketing managers, laughing like nothing matters. She flicks ash like she owns the air. She sees me and lowers the cigarette slightly, still smoking. Alyssa says these are low odor and approved because women need coping tools. She says it is different when men smoke because men weaponize space. Her voice stays calm, but the meaning is pure contempt. Thursday, Risk schedules interviews about Colin's collapse and program consent. Alyssa asks to sit in, and Risk says no to avoid influence. That no is the first time I see her blink. Owen meets me privately and asks if I have concerns about the program. I tell him I have facts, not feelings, and he nods hard. Friday, I request my badge entry logs from facilities, citing payroll correction. Facilities guy sends them because he does not care, and the system is lazy. Logs show I was flagged on a day I never entered the building. Reeves. Logs show monitor spikes overlap with marketing smoke breaks near the lobby. Saturday, I print everything and start a folder called Receipts Like a Joke. Monday, Alyssa announces a new survey about men's relationship to clean air. Survey asks if you ever felt entitled to share air without checking others' comfort. Survey asks whether you think women exaggerate sensory harm, framed as concern. Any answer is a trap because denial becomes evidence and agreement becomes confession. I leave it blank, and within an hour, Alyssa emails me about completion. She says non-response suggests discomfort with accountability, and she is available to support. I reply asking her to confirm in writing that the survey is mandatory. Alyssa replies yes, mandatory for cohort roles, and thanks me for aligning. That yes becomes a brick in my folder, heavy and quiet. Wednesday brings another escalation, because that is how power justifies itself. Alyssa says men must use a separate stairwell after gym to avoid odor transfer. She says women should not smell men's sweat in elevators after intimate exertion. She says that while allowing perfume clouds into every meeting without comment. Thursday, Risk sends a company note about an external review. They call it a standard wellness audit after a medical incident. Alyssa posts saying audits prove we take women seriously. She says critics fear losing old privileges, and Jason screenshots it. Friday, an outside lawyer appears on calendar invites, named Dana from Employment Council. Invite says listening sessions, and Alyssa is not included. My session happens at 2, and I show up with a calm voice. Dana asks about smoking enforcement, attendance tracking, and gender neutrality language. I describe the slim exception and the coaching email accusing me while remote. Dana asks if I have documentation, and I say yes in writing. I hand over the folder, printed, dated, with boring headers. Dana's expression shifts from polite to concerned, which is a real signal. Monday morning, Gordon calls an all-hands with no emojis attached. He looks tired, like someone finally read the legal memo. Gordon says the Clean Air Initiative is paused pending review. He says gym attendance is voluntary, effective immediately. Alyssa is not on the call, which is loud by absence. Company chat explodes with confusion, relief, and a few performative sadness posts. Marketing quietly deletes earlier messages about Slims being approved. Jason sends me a meme and then deletes it, because we learned fear. Tuesday, Alyssa emails a long clarification about temporary adjustments. She says pausing does not mean wrong. It means society resists progress. She implies men are coordinating pushback, and that harms women's trust. Then Dana replies, all asking Alyssa to refrain from commentary. Dana says ongoing review requires neutrality and no retaliation language. Reading that feels like a shield sliding into place. Wednesday, Alyssa's badge stops opening leadership areas, and she notices. She posts a vague message about women being punished for advocacy. By noon, security escorts her out. Quiet, no scene. Gordon sends a short email saying Alyssa is no longer with the company. He thanks her for contributions and asks everyone to respect privacy. Everyone reads it as corporate for legal told us to shut up. Thursday, Risk posts updated policies written by someone boring and careful. Smoking rules apply to everyone equally, based on location, not identity. Wellness becomes optional with incentives, no tracking, no discipline language. The hotline disappears and the laminated signs get peeled off slowly. Friday, Owen tells me the company will cover Colin's medical costs. Owen says I am being moved to a new role with a retention bump. He never says sorry because companies rarely apologize, they just adjust. 2 weeks later, Jason forwards a public professional network post from Alyssa. She writes about leading transformative comfort initiatives and facing backlash from fragile systems. Her comments are limited, but someone shares screenshots of her policy draft anyway. Tracked changes show a deleted phrase about male employees being primary odor contributors. Her own document becomes the receipt she cannot argue with in any meeting. 3 months later, I take a new job fully remote, better pay, less theater. I quit smoking during the transition, not from policy, from disgust and clarity. Sometimes I ride elevators and still notice air like it is political. Then I remember how quickly one person can weaponize kindness into compliance. I close the receipts folder, keep the habit dead, and go back to work.